Jerry Sell here with the Rogue Armor Division of Forest River. And today I'm with Mike Pierce from Lippert Components, and this video is dedicated to the Lippert Ground Control 3.0 automatic leveling system. So we're here on the front driver's side of the coach, and in this front compartment, which is where the propane tank is located, is also the control panel for the 6-point automatic leveling system. It's right up in here. Disregard the light, we put that there so you guys could see what we're talking about. So Mike, let's go through the process.
So what we're going to do, basically when your retail customer backs into wherever they're camping, he's going to first drop legs to the desired point. Then he's going to come in, turn the touchpad on. You can do this one of two ways. You can either scroll up into manual and it'll direct you to press enter, or you can just push front and we'll lift the front end up and basically he will pull away. Then you go in and press the auto level button.
And that starts the automatic leveling process right there.
Automatic leveling process.
So can we do that right now?
We sure can. So let's assume he's pulled away, he's clear from the pin box.
Well, I tell you what, Mike, let's stop for 1 second because everybody's gonna wanna know, those lights are flashing. And as a consumer, I look at that and go, uh-oh, something's wrong. What does that mean, Mike?
Those arrows are indicators on which side is low and high.
Aha.
So right now it's telling us the right side, which is the door side of the unit, is low.
Gotcha.
And it's telling us the rear is low on the back side as well.
Right.
So these two indicators are your right side, and if, let's say the left side was flashing, it would be the rear and the left.
Right.
So right now it's telling us the unit's on level.
Gotcha.
They're not lights that indicate that there's an issue, it's just telling you that the unit's not level.
So when you push the auto level button, that's gonna take care of the issue.
That's gonna go away.
Great.
Yes.
All right.
So let's assume that he's pulled away, everything's clear, we're going to go in to auto level. So as the screen will tell you everything that's going on at all times.
So we're hearing the jacks work, and looking on the pad there, it is actually auto leveling the front.
So what's happening is the front goes down past 0 and it finds a point and it starts to deploy the rear jacks.
Right. To me, like the door side jack already touched, and now the roadside jack is coming down. And that's what's happening right now then is the middle two jacks are coming down to start the stabilization. So Mike, as I understand it, the front and rear jacks are the ones that actually level the coach, is that right?
That's correct. The front and rear do all the leveling, and the center ones come down and they do a slight lift to relax the suspension and finalize like stabilization.
Excellent.
It'll do one more round of checks before it's finalized.
Success. And if we look on the keypad, we can actually see it says success, level jacks are down. So there's the automatic leveling process. So we are now ready to leave our campsite. So what I'd like to do now, Mike, is let's talk about the process of getting our truck hooked up and pulling away.
So one of the cool features about this system, and actually it's either hydraulic or leveling, we have a re-hitch feature.
Right.
So basically what that is the degree of incline where your retail/owner has pulled their vehicle away, it remembers that, because each time they go someplace else, it's going to be a little bit different. So it's only going to remember it one time. So when they get to the campsite and they're done camping and they're getting ready to leave, we have what we call the re-hitch feature.
Great.
So basically what you're going to do is you're going to come in, you're going to turn the touchpad on, and once you have the touchpad on, you're going to push the left and right button at the same time. What it's going to do, it has to automatically retract the rear before it can extend the front. And what that's going to do, once the rears are retracted all the way, it's going to bring the front end back up where your retail owner has unhooked.
So obviously right now the process that's happening is the landing gear is going up to exactly where it needs to be to hook your truck back up again.
That's correct.
So now it says ready, jacks down. The owner should be able to back their pickup right underneath and hook up.
It's not 100% perfect, but it'll get them to right where they were at. So let's say you were on some soft ground and you settled a little bit, but you're going to get pretty close to being exactly where you were at.
That's a great feature. So we've learned how to pull the coach in, unhook everything, auto level everything, and now we've learned how to un-auto level and hook up the truck. So now let's talk about the things we don't want to talk about, but we really need to know, and that are some what-if situations that can come up with the automatic leveling system. So my first one would be, my biggest concern would be if I'm ready to leave and I push the button to retract everything and there's a problem, one of the jacks doesn't want to work. Mike, what do we do?
So if you look at the touchpad is going to indicate that there's an issue.
Oh, so it'll tell you, the touchpad right there will tell you.
Yes, it's going to pinpoint which motor has the issue. It's not going to tell you what the issue is. So for instance, we have, let's say, left rear motor error. So the retail customer is going to see that on the screen.
So as soon as they push the button to auto level, it's going to say, uh-oh, something's wrong. Gotcha.
Exactly. It's going to stop right where it's at. We have an issue. So in order to actually function the system after the fact, it's going to prompt you to press enter to acknowledge.
Gotcha. All right.
So let's say for instance,
let's look up in here once then, and let's go through this.
Let's say for instance, the retail customer realizes that one of these two connections on the motor is loose. He presses them and checks them, and one of them snaps back in. So on the screen, once they turned it on, it's going to tell you left rear motor error. So let's say the retail thinks he has that figured out. Once he presses enter to acknowledge, it's going to unlatch the system and allow him to operate. So seeing how, like you stated, Jerry, that all the leveling legs are extended all the way. So what he's going to do, normally if they weren't, you would have to run the legs down 6 to 8 inches. And then he's going to come in, press and hold the retract button till the system automatically takes off and starts retracting. Then he's going to let go. All the jacks are going to retract. And what this is doing is allowing the controller to pick up each motor to make sure that we no longer have any more issues.
Right. Excellent. Okay, so let's say we still have a problem with that rear jack. All right, we need to get home. It's Sunday afternoon. I got to be at work tomorrow morning. What do I do at this point? Let's say that, for whatever reason, there's a bad jack, there's a bad motor. What do we do?
So if you have a bad motor and it's just, it is what it is, it's inoperable, you can't do anything with it. What we've designed in is you have a manual override on the bottom and on the top. So if, let's say, the issue is the rear, and depending on location of the jack, you can't get to this manual override on top, you can always get to the one on the bottom.
Gotcha. And so the manual override is this little
There's a
rubber
little black plug here.
So we're going to pull that plug up. And right in there is what?
It's basically your 3/8 ratchet. The square head of the ratchet itself is the same diameter. You take that ratchet and you can just...
So you just need the ratchet. You don't even need any kind of a socket. It actually,
you can
is the female end of the socket where you're just going to put the ratchet in.
Or you can put a 3-inch extension on it, and it's the same diameter as that. You drop it in and just start turning.
And just start turning it. Would it help to unplug it? Does the motor, I know sometimes when you crank a motor, it's trying to charge the battery at the same time. Would it be I'm just thinking what's the easiest way to do it if I do have to get it up.
Yeah, you can do that.
Right. So we can either do it here, and of course this one, it's real easy. We can get the jack in there. But if we're in the back and it's under the skirting.
Right, you're going to want to go to the bottom.
The exact same thing here is I'm going to pull it off. Yep, it's exactly the same tag. So you have it two places. We can crank it up. So excellent. We've cranked it up. It's out of the way. Now, do we hit the button and just retract everything else and get it out?
Retract everything, yes.
Perfect. and it'll allow you to do that even with that one up.
That's correct.
Great. So we know we can always get home. That's probably the best thing you can tell us in this whole video is you know you can get home if there's a problem.
Yep, you have options.
Good. So Mike, another what if would be the customer is out camping and they go to push the button to retract and go home and nothing happens. What could the reason be there?
Well, for one, the system has a fail-safe in it on a low voltage cutout. So if you reach that 10.5 volts and your batteries are that low, the fail-safe kicks in. The touchpad blinks at you, says low voltage cutout. Then you have to press enter to acknowledge, because anytime you have an error code that pops up on that screen, you have to press enter to acknowledge or it latches you out.
Gotcha.
So what you can do is you come over to the screen, you turn it on, you scroll up or down to your volt meter.
So it has a built-in voltage meter right there. It'll tell you.
It tells you what it is at standing point only.
Right.
You want to test the voltage under a load. So let's say you need to extend the front landing gear anyway. You're going to obviously extend.
Oh yeah, I see it drop down to 12.8 right away.
Right. So if it keeps dropping and it drops to 10.5, your battery at that particular point is completely dead. 10.5 volts. The system will shut off and it will not allow you to do anything, for the simple fact, as a safety factor, that way you don't damage anything.
Right. So then the answer basically is you'll know that because the system will tell you the battery's not strong enough.
Exactly.
So then as a consumer, I'm going to have to charge the battery, do whatever I need to do to make sure that works. So that would excellent. So good. Well, then we know that one. So Mike, one of the questions I get as a rep for the Rogue Armored product is, why did you guys put the rear jacks so far up to the tire? Why wouldn't they be at the back corner? Because intuitively, you would think the trailer would be more stable if I had the jacks on the four corners. Why is it that the jack is always up by the tires here?
That's a good question. So when we design these systems, and it's also, I don't want to say it's kind of a code, but it kind of is, you have what is called an approach and a departure angle. So the departure angle is from the base of that tire to the bottom of your bumper.
Right. So what you're saying is like an imaginary line from this point here to the bottom of that.
So that jack has to be inside that.
Has to be above that line.
It has to be above that line.
Right. Well, then it makes sense. So that we had to keep moving this forward till we got to that point where it was above the line. If it were here, you'd take the jack out if you went over a curb, a high curb at a gas station or something. So that's why it's in front like that.
So we also need to maintain a certain amount of inches below this jack, because a lot of people don't understand that the stack up in the build of the electric jack, you only have 12.5 inches of stroke.
Right.
So we need to maintain 7 inches of ground clearance for the degree of correction that's built into the system too, which is it'll correct up to 5 degrees, which isn't a lot.
Right.
But if you maintain, when we design these and set them up for you guys on your first prototype, we need to maintain that 7 inches of ground clearance. 7 inches, once it hits the ground, you have 5.5 inches of lift capability to just relax the suspension on it, so the unit doesn't still shake and move around.
Well, okay, that leads us really to another what if scenario, and that is, what if a customer is back into the lake and it's a big long slope, and he hits the auto level button and the length is more than the throw that you have there? What will happen to the jack?
The only thing that's going to happen is you're going to throw an error code saying that the jack is actually stroked out, reached stroke capability. So then you're going to have to, on the touchpad, press enter to acknowledge again. That way, because it's going to latch you out.
Right.
Then you can retract them, add some blocks.
So just throw a couple of, every camper has wood blocks with them anyway, so you just would want to throw a couple of blocks there.
Right.
So it's not a big deal if all of a sudden a customer or an owner has it and sees this code, and there's no panic.
It's not an issue. It's the fact that it's reached its stroke capability.
Gotcha. That's good to know too. These are some really good what-if scenarios that I know we'll all experience sometime while camping. So it's really this video is really going to help us all as consumers and even the retail salespeople for us to understand this system much better. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
While we're back here with the tires, and I know, we get this question sometimes too, if the camper is camped on a bit of an incline left to right or whatever, and they go ahead and do the automatic leveling, and the system's strong enough that it's going to raise up, what happens, for instance, if the tires maybe come off the ground?
Well, here's one of two things that are going to happen. If it's too much of an excessive angle, it's going to throw an error code and tell you an excessive angle, and it won't allow you to do it.
Aha.
Two, the system is designed to find what the level point is that your production line has taught it. So if it finds that and your tires are slightly off the ground, it's not an issue. But if you run into a scenario where they're several inches off the ground, you're either going to get that excessive angle and it's going to stop. You need to relocate and reposition and
Put some blocks under your tires or something like that. Yeah.
Or find a different place to park.
Gotcha.
Because it's only going to correct up to 5 degrees. It's not a lot, but it's only going to correct that far.
Right.
And then if it sees that you're on an excessive angle, it's going to error out and tell you no.
And that's okay, because I know most campers, at least I know, I carry 2x6s that I can pull back up onto if I'm on someplace like that.
What you need to be careful about that too is you have a limited amount of stroke on this.
Right.
So if you go too high, you could run into a scenario where the jack actually strokes out.
Okay, so if I'm gonna put the blocks under my tires, I want to make sure I put the blocks under my jacks.
Yes,
is what you're saying.
correct.
Well, that's good. That's good. And of course, now we're talking about tires in the air. I gotta ask that question for everybody out there. Mike, can I change a tire using this automatic leveling system?
That is a big no.
Okay.
You cannot do that. It's
All right.
not safe. You should never do that. It's not safe.
All right. Well, there you have it. So that's pretty much all the what ifs I can think of. I want to thank everyone for watching the video today. Mike, especially, I want to thank you and Lippert Components for coming out and teaching us about the system. Hopefully we really covered everything, especially the what ifs. If anybody out in the audience has any questions, please leave a comment below. And if you need more information, you can always find us at www.forestriverinc.com. Thanks for watching.